You've all seen the viral clips, but what if the voice that stunned the world was actually the beginning of a carefully constructed trap? It started as one of those gold standard television moments that producers dream of. A young man walks onto a brightly lit stage looking slightly nervous, perhaps even a bit out of place under the heavy studio rafters. The audience settles into a comfortable, almost patronizing silence, expecting a standard performance. Then Matty Juniosa opens his mouth. The sound that followed didn't just fill the room, it vibrated through the screen and into the homes of millions. It was a vocal texture so rich and seasoned it felt like it had been stolen from a 1950s soul legend. Within 24 hours, the name Matty Juniosa was trending globally. The shock factor wasn't just about his talent, it was about the cognitive dissonance of seeing someone so young possess a gift that seemed to carry the weight of a lifetime of experience. But as the applause faded and the cameras stopped rolling, the reality of the music industry began to set in. What many viewers didn't realize was that the very platform that gave him a voice was also the one that could take it away. In the high-stakes world of talent competitions, the winners are often bound by ironclad contracts that dictate everything from what they wear to how they speak. Matty was no longer just a singer, he was a brand owned by a conglomerate. The initial wave of euphoria was quickly met with the sobering reality of corporate expectations. While fans were busy sharing his audition clip, Matty was reportedly entering a world of meetings, mandates, and creative compromises that would eventually lead to the first major crack in his public image. The world expected a debut album. What they got was a sudden, jarring silence that left everyone wondering if the industry had already moved on to the next big thing. Behind the glitz of the stage lies a dark period that most artists are too terrified to ever speak about in public. For nearly a year, one of the most promising voices in the world simply vanished from the mainstream radar. In the digital age, a year of silence is the equivalent of a decade of irrelevance. Fans began to speculate, was there a health crisis, a falling out with management, or perhaps something more litigious? As an investigative look reveals, this missing year is a common symptom of the golden handcuff syndrome. When a breakout star doesn't immediately release music, it's often because they are locked in a stalemate with a record label that wants to mold them into something they aren't. Sources close to the industry suggest that Matty faced a choice: become a polished, radio-friendly pop puppet, or wait out a contract that prevented him from releasing anything independent. This period of forced inactivity is where most careers go to die. It is a psychological war of attrition designed to break an artist's spirit until they comply with the label's vision. But instead of fading away quietly, Matty used this time to observe the machinery of fame from the inside. He saw how sensations were manufactured and then discarded when their profit margins dipped. The rumors of legal issues or accusations surfacing regarding his professional conduct during this time were often dismissed as whispers intended to keep him in line. While we can't confirm the exact nature of these private disputes, the result was clear. The Matty Juniosa who eventually broke that silence was not the same person who had walked onto that audition stage. He had been through the industry ringer and he came out the other side with a perspective that was far more cynical and far more dangerous to the status quo than anyone could have anticipated. If you thought you knew who Matty was based on his television appearance, you weren't just wrong, you were being lied to. When Matty finally reappeared on social media, the transformation was nothing short of a cultural reset for his fanbase. The wholesome talent was gone, replaced by a persona that was unapologetically raw, frequently blunt, and sometimes downright confrontational. This wasn't a PR-managed rebrand, this felt like a dam breaking. He began using his platform to address the fake nature of his early fame, often taking aim at the very structures that had elevated him. This pivot was a massive gamble. In the entertainment world, biting the hand that feeds you is usually career suicide. His social media presence became a lightning rod for controversy. He wasn't just singing anymore, he was talking loudly. He addressed topics that made major brands sprint in the opposite direction. Critics argued he was throwing away his gift, while supporters claimed he was finally being authentic. This shift in energy was so drastic that some fans theorized it was a defense mechanism, a way to ensure the industry would never want to own him again. He began to lean into a more diva or unfiltered aesthetic, embracing the very traits that traditional media outlets often use to expose or cancel rising stars. By leaning into the controversy himself, he took the power away from the tabloids. However, this independence came at a high price. The mainstream doors that were once wide open began to slam shut. Radio play dried up and the major festival invites stopped arriving. But as the traditional path crumbled, a new, more mysterious one began to emerge in its place, fueled by a fanbase that valued his realness over his radio friendliness. There is a silent list in the music world that you never want your name on, and whispers suggest Matty's name is written in bold. Within the inner circles of the recording industry, a narrative began to take hold. Matty Juniosa was difficult to work with. In reporter terms, this is often code for an artist who refuses to be controlled. Speculation grew that he had been effectively blacklisted from the major labels. These rumors weren't just about his outspoken nature on social media. They hinted at deeper conflicts during recording sessions and a refusal to follow the tried and true formulas of pop success. This kind of reputation can be a death sentence for a mainstream career. When the big money stops flowing, most artists fold. They issue a public apology, hire a new PR firm, and try to reclaim their spot on the safe list. Matty did the opposite. He seemed to relish the outsider status. He leaned into the idea that he was too real for the industry, which only served to deepen the divide between him and the gatekeepers. This period was marked by a series of cryptic posts and sudden cancellations that fueled even more speculation. Was he going through something, or was he strategically deconstructing his own fame? The shocking truth that many fans couldn't wrap their heads around was that Matty might actually prefer being an outcast. While we can't say for certain if a formal blacklist exists, the empirical evidence is hard to ignore. A voice of that caliber doesn't just get ignored by the Grammys and the charts unless there is a massive amount of friction behind the scenes. This friction, however, became the very fuel he needed to build his next chapter. While the world was looking for him on the charts, Matty was quietly building an empire in the one place the industry couldn't touch him. If you look at Matty's life today, it's a far cry from the struggling artist trope that usually follows a fallout with a major label. He appears to be living a more glamorous and affluent lifestyle than ever before. This has led to intense speculation about where the money is coming from. Without the backing of a massive corporation, how does he maintain his brand? The answer lies in the niche pivot. Investigative looks at his current business model suggest he has tapped into high-end private bookings, exclusive digital content, and direct-to-fan monetization that bypasses the middleman entirely. He's essentially become his own label, his own PR firm, and his own distributor. This independent hustle is the ultimate middle finger to the traditional music industry. He's proving that a viral moment can be converted into long-term sustainability without needing to sell your soul to a conglomerate. However, this path isn't without its own set of rumors. Some suggest that his pivot into more controversial or edgy content is a way to maintain engagement in a crowded market. Others point to his vocal transparency about his lifestyle choices as a way to keep the tabloid interest alive. Regardless of the methods, the results are undeniable. He is still here, he is still loud, and he is still making money. He has successfully navigated the offing of his old career to birth something entirely new. The shocking part isn't that he survived, it's that he seems to be thriving in a space that the industry labels as a dead end. We started this journey looking for a singer, but we ended up finding a revolutionary who might just have the last laugh. The story of Matty Juniosa is more than just a tale of a talent show contestant who didn't fit the mold. It is a case study in the modern war for authenticity. In an era where every move is calculated and every rebellion is usually just a marketing tactic, Matty feels like the real deal, precisely because he's so polarizing. He didn't just fail to become a pop star, he actively rejected the version of success that was offered to him. For some, he will always be the what-if story, the greatest voice of a generation that was exposed by its own ego. For others, he is a pioneer who showed that you don't have to be a product to be a performer. As we look at his trajectory into 2026, the question isn't whether he'll ever return to the mainstream. The question is, why would he? He has built a fortress of independence that no record executive can tear down. The shocking reality is that Matty Juniosa did exactly what he wanted to do, even if it meant burning every bridge behind him. He has redefined what it means to be a success in the digital age, proving that sometimes the best way to find your voice is to stop following the script. Whether you find him difficult, inspiring, or controversial, one thing is certain, you cannot stop watching him. And in the world of YouTube and digital media, that is the only currency that truly matters. Matty isn't just a singer anymore, he's a survivor of the fame machine, and he's finally the one holding the remote.